wish everybody, because apparently nobody knows, I want to wish everybody a very happy Flag Day. Today is Flag Day. That's why I'm wearing the American flag on my shirt. It's why I'm wearing the American flag on my tuchus. It's why I've got the American flag all over my body today, Tiki, because it's Flag Day.
Did you wear it to jury duty this morning? To show that your support of America the Beautiful was fully intact.
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about what I wore to jury duty, but I will tell you this. Somebody listens to the show and knows that I'm an independent hockey observer, an independent football observer, an independent basketball observer, and when someone's an IO, they want that IO on their trial. And now I'm an IJO, if you know what I mean. An independent jury observer. More on that later. But last night, something happened. And I'm very curious with all the Met fans out there, if you experienced this last night, whether you were watching on TV on SNY or you were at Citi Field, felt like a decent crowd on a beautiful Thursday night. I was lucky enough to be there with my son last night. And as the Mets were struggling to get base hits off of a young pitcher no one had ever heard of, I saw the death of a season. I warned you about this yesterday, that game could have been the death of the season. And I laid out a specific scenario. Edwin Diaz comes in, he's off the IL, he blows a lead. I could see the death of a season possibly coming across of my body.
It was almost as if you were speaking it into existence. And as soon as you left to go take your son to his Little League game,
that's right,
which ended up being canceled
that's
because
right,
people like you decided not to go to the game, even though you did it after the fact, but it is what it is. Right. You ended up going to the Mets game.
That's right.
But you wanted to see Edwin Diaz blow it and end up, being the season ender.
I did not.
Right?
Well, I don't want it.
That's what Sean and I thought when you left.
Why would I want the Mets?
Because you spoke it into existence.
Dude, I speak things out of existence. I don't want the Mets season to end. I didn't want Edwin Diaz to return off the IL,
then why did
blow
you
a
not
2-run lead.
Edwin Diaz is coming out of the bullpen with a 1-run lead, and he's shutting them down?
Because that's not who I am. Like, all of a sudden, I'm Mr. Optimistic. I'm not.
Good point.
But luckily, last night, as I'm sitting there at Citi Field, and the Mets are getting mowed down, and they are losing to Miami.
Not a lot of
and
hits
they're
in that
trailing
game.
2-1. They're getting no hit into the 6th inning. And Edwin Diaz does come in and does a great job, a very impressive 1-2-3 9th inning against the bottom of the order. I looked at my son. I looked back onto the field, and I said, if they can't score a run here, we're all going to experience the death of a season. You're going to lose 2 out of 3 to the Miami Marlins. You're going to take all the positive momentum that maybe you built off of what happened in London, splitting a series against the Phillies, sweeping the Washington Nationals, returning Francisco Alvarez, and you're going to lose 2 out of 3 to the Miami Marlins, and then something magical happened. The New York Mets season was on a respirator. The New York Mets season was about to die. We were all going to name the date and time of that death. And then J.D. Martinez, really started by Francisco Lindor, drawing a walk and stealing second base. J.D. Martinez, with one swing, turned what could have been the death of a season into seasons back on. Because that was a swing game. That's a swing game in terms of the series. That's a swing game in terms of all the work this team needs to accomplish to get back towards 500 and claw their way back into a real pennant race. And so what I ask my fellow Met fan, is the season back on?
Oh, man.
Do we look at a game like that, especially the way you come back, with J.D. hitting the home run, with Lindor stealing second base, with Edwin pitching a clean 9th inning? Is that the kind of game, kind of the opposite of a death of a season, the opposite of Edwin Diaz putting the final nail in a bad season by blowing a game on a Thursday night? Does that kind of win actually make you as a Met fan say, we're coming?
It makes me, as an observer of the Met fan.
An IBL, somebody say?
Yes, an IMO, independent Met observer.
Oh, I like that.
You like that? I wonder if this is going to be the entire summer. Because think about where we're headed, right? It's starting to get warm outside. People are getting interested in doing other things with their disposable time, especially if their team isn't good, a la the Met fan. And it feels like you're on the whim of how they play on any given night. So if they lose 4-2 to the Miami Marlins in a game they should not have lost to open this series, it's kind of like, ugh, I'm not going to watch them. You know what? I'm going to the beach. I'm not even turning the TV on. Maybe I'll check in on my phone. But Then the next game, they win 10-4. It's like, wow, they were pretty damn good. They dominated a team they're supposed to dominate. And then you get the next night where they have a walk-off home run. J.D. Martinez's 321st of his career, his first walk-off of his career. And it's just, it wraps you back in. So now all of a sudden, with the Padres coming into town tonight, you're like, man, I got to watch them. But if it had been a loss, if they had disappointingly lost that game and thus the series to the Miami Marlins, how many people are caring about the Padres tonight? You know, so I
that's why it was a swing game.
Yeah, I know. So I'm looking at the Met fan, and what I see is someone who is open to the whims of the wind. Like a flag. Interestingly, on Flag Day, right? Wherever the wind takes you, that's where you're going. It's got to be a tough spot to be in.
Well,
it really does.
It's very tough because two things can be true at the same time. The New York Mets are alive, right? They're on the respirator, but they're alive. They're alive because Rob Manfred decided we need 3 wild card teams in each league.
True.
They're alive because as of right now, all it takes is being a 500 team, actually 1 game below 500, to be said wild card team.
There you go.
And so they're alive because the math says they're alive. Like, when people tell you, well, they've got to jump 7 teams, yeah, no kidding, but they're also in a position where it doesn't take much to jump those 7 teams.
Whenever I hear that, and people bring that up all the time. Yes, but there's 7 teams ahead of them. Okay, they win 5 games in a row. Guess what? There's maybe 1 team ahead of them.
Exactly.
So it's not that daunting.
When that is said, that's an overrated thing. Like, yeah, there's a bunch of teams in front of them, but they're in it. Like, the one thing you can't deny, and this is the side of me that continues to have hope, is that they're not dead. They're not dead from a mathematical standpoint. Like, if they were 9 games out of a playoff spot, we're not having this conversation. But they're not. They're 3 games out of a playoff spot. They are alive. I could bore you to death with teams that have been under 500 in the middle of June, dare I say the middle of July, that have come back and succeeded. The Washington Nationals from 2019 is always an example that jumps out at people. Even what the Braves did to the Mets back in 2021 is an example that jumps out at people. So that part of me I'm good with. That part of me is like, yeah, we're alive. It's why you look at San Diego this weekend and say, here we go. And here's the other part. And this is the part where I hesitate. This is the part where I want to be enthusiastic because I don't want the baseball season, for the Mets at least, to be done in the middle of June. But here's the part I hesitate on. Do you believe in this team? Like, when the Mets made their comeback in 2016, it was the year after they won the pennant, they were also myriad in a slump. This was actually in August, and they got their season turned around actually in San Francisco. They had a great final month. The math allowed them to still be in it, and they made the playoffs. But that team had just been to a World Series, and you trusted that team. When you look at Brandon Nimmo, and you look at Pete Alonso, and you look at Jeff McNeil, and you look at everybody on this roster, all of them, do you trust them? Do you trust that based on the gift from the gods that they're still alive, only being 3 games out, and that 3 wildcard teams make the playoffs, do you trust that J.D. Martinez hitting a walk-off home run on a Thursday night against the Marlins, that could actually spark this team even more than they've already been sparked? And that's where I hesitate, because I don't have that kind of trust for this team that I did for the team in 2016.
To me, it feels less like trust and more like faith for Pete Alonso to find his bat, for Francisco Lindor to be more consistently like he should be, or Nimmo the same way, Jeff McNeil, not even Jeff McNeil, but whatever. Like, any of those guys who are going to be the catalyst, we know that they have it in them. We know that they're good baseball players, and they're happy to have collectively bad seasons. So it's less about, do you trust them? It's more about, do you have faith that the guys that are supposed to be doing the good things for this team are going to do the good things for this team? And that's where I'm less certain if I'm a Met fan, because you just haven't seen it really consistently at all this year.
Well, even like this recent stretch, the Mets are playing well, right? You just look at wins and losses, and it all goes back to me shaving my beard? Nah, not really. It all goes back to the team meeting, and it goes back to Jorge Lopez. From that line of demarcation where they were swept by the L.A. Dodgers and they hit rock bottom, here's what they did. They won 2 in a row against Arizona, then they lost 2 in a row, so they were 2-2 getting a split. Then they went out and they swept the Washington Nationals. They got a split against the Philadelphia Phillies, and now they've won 2 out of 3 against the Marlins. So if you do the math on that, all of a sudden you see that they're 8-4 in their last 12 games.
Right.
That's good. Like everybody would agree. Great, 8-4, it's fantastic. And yet there's something about the wins that leaves you saying, like they've won a lot of games, and I've said this a lot of times on the Rico, where I'm happy they won. You never throw back wins. There's no style points, but it doesn't give you faith. Yes. You know, you don't win a game. Like even last night's game, it was a great win. We're all chanting, "Let's go Mets," as we're leaving the building. But they came close to being no-hit by Roddery Munoz.
Let's go Mets.
They're getting shut down by the Marlins.
Right, it was exciting because Diaz pitched well, and then you get a walk-off home run. But there were still only 3 hits in the entire game. So and 2 of them were J.D. Martinez.
So even in a win, which I was ecstatic about, you're like, do I really believe in this team? Go back to the game in London.
So what's it going to take? What's it like? What does belief mean? Where does it come from this current iteration of the Mets? Where does it come from? How do you do it?
Kicking ass and taking names. I mean, honestly, that's the answer because the Mets have made me a mess. They're in it because of the math. They've won 8 out of 12. That's encouraging. But I don't watch this team every day like I do and walk away with confidence. Like, I was thrilled they won. They're in it like I laid out with the math. And yet, do I really feel like, oh, yeah, we're going to kick the Padres' ass this weekend? Not really, because even in the wins, like that game in London against the Phillies, think about how they won that game. They won that game on Pete Alonso being hit by a freaking pitch, on Mark Vientos hitting a roller, and on a pass ball.
Yes.
And then they were very fortunate to turn to one of the most unique game-ending double plays you'll ever see.
Right.
And so they won, and I was happy they won, but I said it to my wife then. I'm like, you take them how you get them, but geez, man, I don't know.
No, you want to see them come take the victory. Like just like what JD did last night. Hit a walk-off home run, you win the game. As opposed to, okay, we'll just accept it.
No.
Thanks for giving that win to us, Phillies. We appreciate you. You take them, but it's not empowering. It doesn't make you feel good about what's happening.
If they were 5 games above 500, it wouldn't matter because you'd be like, they're winning, who cares?
Yes.
But in terms of hope, because they will not make the playoffs at 5 games under 500. Okay, they're not. The only way the Mets are making the playoffs is getting to 500 and being above 500. I would be very surprised if an 80-82 season is getting you in the postseason. So they've got to make up the 7 games under 500 that they are. And so when we have this discussion about, all right, season back on, what do we think? Where's our confidence level? My confidence level would be higher if they were not winning games on walk-off home runs or winning games on hit batsmen, but kicking ass.
Yeah, I think it would.
And I know that's irrational because just take the wins how you get them, and I do. Trust me, I was thrilled last night that they won. I was thrilled in London when they won. I just want them to win. But in terms of these conversations about where they are and where our confidence level is, it's why I can't fully buy the confidence of Loogie and Pete Hoffman, who are like, I believe in this team. I mean, I sort of believe in this team, but not really.
Yeah, do you really believe in this team? Or are you just saying you believe in this team because it makes it sound and feel good when you say that?
No, I have a bone to pick with Evan here because, believe it or not, I listened to the Rico Bronya last night, and I'm hearing Evan now talk now, and you come off this dramatic win, you're in the building, and you did the but. They won, but they only got 3 hits. They won, but. Evan, this team would be 500 if the bullpen was better. You know that. I know that. Diaz back last night looked good. Nunez has been good. J.D. Martinez is starting to hit. Alvarez is back. There are reasons for positive. Severino's pitching well. So you take the wins where you can get them, like you said. To me, they won. They won a series. They're starting to win series. They have a big one here against San Diego this weekend. It's more about the positivity and not the buts.
Well, the buts are there because of the fact that there's 7 games under 500, and I'm trying to figure out, like we all are, hey, is this team going to make a run? Like, that's what we're all trying to figure out. Right. It's what Met fans are trying to figure out before they actually spend money and go to Citi Field this week.
But they're making a run right now.
Well, no, they got to make a bigger run. There's 7 games under 500.
In theory, you're right.
Well, they're 8-4 in their last 12 games, as I laid out.
So you can't like
I'm not
that.
discounting it, but as I project the next few weeks, it's tough to have that confidence when even in the wins, there are a lot of buts because I don't know how sustainable all of that is.
And
so that's where I'm at.
They're 8-4 since what? That team meeting. Martinez, after the game last night, this is a guy who's been around the league forever, said it was the best team meeting I've ever been a part of. So you could poo-poo a team meeting, but there's a veteran guy that hit a walk-off that said since that meeting, and it was the best meeting I've ever been in, we've played better. Jorge Lopez incident, they've been playing better.
I agree. That's the line of demarcation.
So they are on a run right now, so there's no reason they can't continue this momentum, especially with Alvarez back, with Diaz back.
But Loogie, all I'm saying is in these victories, you don't walk away from them like, wow, we're back.
But, Evan, it's not college football. There's no style points.
I agree. But when we're talking about a team that's 7 games under 500 and we're trying to figure out how good they are, it's not about style points. It's about projecting what's next. That's all I'm saying. I'm trying to figure out, like we all are, where is this team? Are they any good? Are they going on a run? So it's not about style points. I'm thrilled when they win these games. Last night, I'm walking out of that building with my son. I'm thrilled. We're happy. But ultimately, as I sit here with you in front of a microphone, and I'm trying to be independent because I'm a very independent guy. In fact, I'm so damn independent, I'm an IJO now. I'm an independent juror.
Right.
More on that later. That's the thing that I hesitate on.
Well, here's what you need to do. You need to.
Tell me, Dr. Tiki.
You need to. You know those little, like, wires that you use them for stability? Go get those wires and get the thick ones.
What do you mean wires for stability?
Just hear me out. Get these thick wires. Go take your pants off, stick them into the side, stick them up the front side, stick them on the top, stick them on the back side, and plant your flag. And stop letting it wave in the wind and be solidified by the wire. That is the confidence, the conviction that this team is going to be good. Support them unequivocally.
Well, hold on. I don't want to hear this support discussion. I support them with my...
Believe in them. Believe in them.
Tiki,
you went to the game last night.
Yeah.
Right?
I support them with my wallet. I don't need to support them
more often because Jets seen walk-off after walk-off after walk-off. Right? Stop saying, I don't really want to go. Be the Met fan.
Okay, hold on a second.
Stop waving in the wind with on Flag Day.
All right.
Get wire and stick it in there and be strong. Be sturdy. Believe, man.
All right, a couple of things that you've said that have annoyed me to no end.
I was trying to be Francisco Lindor, by the way.
Is that what you're trying to? Number one, I always want to go. I love going to Met games. I need my wife's approval every once in a while, all right? That's number one. Number two, support can't be the same as blind optimism. Okay? I find myself to be overall an optimistic guy.
If you're winning, then you take it.
I get that they've been winning, but I'm trying to project the more winning that they need to do.
Forget the projection. Trust what's going to happen on any given night.
Do you think the Mets are winning?
By the way, that's where they are. The Mets aren't good. They're not like the Yankees, where it's like, all right, who they got coming up? All right, they're going to win that series. They're going to sweep this team. Like you're not the Yankees.
I'm not saying they are.
You are a team that has to take it game by game by game until you start to build something that's lasting. And to Loogie's point, over the last 12 games, the Mets have actually started to build something that could be lasting.
They're 8-4.
Right? That's a pretty good winning percentage right now. And so trust that is who they are, even if sometimes it's ugly, because it was ugly last night.
To my fellow Met fan, is the season back on? Are we believing? Are we buying the recent trend? Are we buying what J.D. Martinez said? Hey, we're a different team since the team meeting. We'll get your calls next, 888-808-1019. That's the toll-free number, 888-808-1019.